One of the most formative experiences for me professionally was early in my career. I was just about a year out of college. I started working for Bob Woodward, the great Washington Post reporter. And, I was never really cut out to be a newspaper reporter the way Bob was, but I learned more about writing, about interviewing, about journalism, and really about how to write a book from Bob than just about anyone. It's interesting. I just saw him. We were both at the New Orleans Book Festival, March of 2025, and we were reminiscing a little bit. We worked together on a book called The Agenda, which was about the first year of the Clinton administration. And I just remember I would often work at Bob's house. He had a little sort of office for me upstairs. Yeah, I would do things like, research the newspaper clips about a subject that he was looking at, do background research on the individuals. I did a lot of editing of the work and various other things. But what I remember most is, I would get over there, 9:15, ready to start the workday. Woodward would already be at his desk, hard at work. And then, I would leave after a full day, 6 o'clock, 6:30. Bob would still be working. I mean, he really was, and I think still is. He's in his early 80s now, just the hardest working man in journalism. And I think it's one reason why he's such a great reporter. And I sort of realized I had, done well in life by, as the British say, being clever. That intelligence and the ability to analyze, the ability to think will get you very far. But in areas like journalism and history, for that matter, there's really no substitute for just time. Woodward would always say, time against the problem. Like, that was the formula. The more time you put into the research, the more you were going to come up with. He also came up with this saying or axiom about book writing, which I was skeptical of at first, but then when I was writing my own work, came to see was actually true. And he would say, all the best stuff comes at the end. That is, you're finishing the book, you're in the later stages, so you think it's all stuff. And that's when all these revelations come, all this exciting new stuff comes. And why should that be? And I think there actually is a reason for it, which is that the farther along you are, the more you have the entirety of the subject and the book in your head, the better able you are to ask the right questions, to know what you're looking for. When you start off, you're kind of mucking around, you're asking about this, you get answers that people have given a million times before, but you don't realize it. But it's at the end that you hear things, you say, aha, that's new, and that will slot in here in the book, and that helps me answer this question. So as I was writing my biography of John Lewis, which came out this fall, I sort of found myself channeling Bob Woodward and thinking, what would Woodward do? I just did interview after interview. I mean, that was another thing I really learned from him. He would do, hundreds of interviews. He would go back and interview someone twice, 3 times, 20 times. And I found myself doing the same. Sometimes you interview someone, what they tell you is like their canned, familiar version of events. Then you talk to other people, you find out that that person's version is not quite right. You go back to them and you say, well, aren't there some wrinkles? They say, oh yeah, that's right, there's more to it. And they tell you a deeper, more detailed version. And maybe then a third time, there's still more detail about even the same story that you can wrest from someone. So that persistence and that going back to people over and over really was just an invaluable lesson.